Welcome in, loyal listeners, to this week's episode of the Point 3 podcast, where we will be discussing Secret Invasion Episode 5. So, I just got done finished the episode about 30 minutes ago, right before we hopped on here. I thought it was great. What worked and what didn't work for you guys on Episode 5?
Nick Fury worked. Simply put, dude, Nick Fury, I'm loving Nick Fury this entire, through 5 episodes. I was not expecting to enjoy him and really get, the character development that we're getting with him. Sonya Fallsworth, I think it's my MVP. I think she's my MVP of the series. I love her every time that she's on screen. Every single time. She's just so clutch. The characters, the dialogue, the way that they are just presenting the show works every single time. I hope someone splices this together and it's just kind of like a movie run from beginning to end, because I'd love to watch it straight through. But I'll save my what didn't work kind of for a little bit later, because there's one major thing that didn't work for me in this, but 99.9% of this, again, fantastic episode.
I thought it was... I'm going to echo what Lou said here. Nick Fury and the character work continues to be top-notch and unlike any other Marvel show so far. The characterization of Nick Fury, Gaia, Vara, Priscilla, whatever you want to call her, Gravik even, fantastic. I love every time these characters are on screen, you never want to look away, because you want to see their body language, and it's in everything. Like I said, the body language, how they present themselves. For example, spoiler in case you haven't, but if you're here, then you know what we're about here. So, but Gravik is sitting in the cafe, right? And Beto approaches him, and just the way he's just so leisurely sitting after killing what we thought is his friend and his top general in cold blood. He's just chilling. He's like, yeah, it's whatever. Nick Fury, when he's at the hospital protecting the president, and he just grabs that chair, sits down, and you see how tense he is, and I don't know, it's fantastic. The way they keep doing that and how they've kept it up for all 5 episodes, absolutely loved it. And then the emotional beats, I think, are great as well, because something we talked about last week, for example, with Nick Fury's wife Priscilla, we talked about, does he still really love her? And towards the end, you get a nice scene of him talking to Fallsworth, and he's like, this is where we honeymooned, and now you see why it's personal. But not only that, he talks about everything that he's had in his life, right? And he says, I got a woman who is greater than I ever will be. And then again, just a nice little detail of, he really loves her more than almost anything. Just fantastic stuff.
What worked for you, Spider-Man?
I was just gonna say, Fury, once again, he has not failed. That ending, last 3 minutes ending shot when he was gathering some old equipment. Oh, I got goosebumps watching that, man. I was so nice to see that eye patch again. It was just beautiful. The trench coat, is that considered a trench coat?
I think so. Straight up battle jacket. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Battle jacket, trench coat, some freaking OG
battle trench
shit. Battle trench.
That needs to be a patent.
Jacket.
Yeah. So I get the 0.3 certification right there. Battle trench.
Yeah,
it does. Battle trench. Spider Brando, Chef Spider Brando approved.
There you go.
One day I'm gonna get it right on the first try again. But yeah, I thought it was good. Gaia always works for me. It's nice seeing her. I don't think she's gonna get. I love that. I don't think she's gonna be MVP much anymore. Seems like, I don't know. I'm leaning towards Fury. Just staying MVP. It's hard to say that given he's the main character, but she's got to do something epic in the next episode to win my MVP claim.
Let me ask you guys this, because I want to break each of these characters down just slightly. But the thing that I'm seeing a lot, and I want to keep this positive, I promise I really do. But when people are like, Fury's been whatever, it's been this. I just want you guys to just give me, did Secret Invasion do this well or explore this or not? And essentially it's based on what did we not know about Nick Fury before Secret Invasion. So if I had to say, has Secret Invasion explored his origins in early life?
A little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
he talked about his past.
Okay.
Not like
Have they?
too early, but he's talked about his past.
Fair, right? I agree with that. We've got some dialogue about his mom, some things that he's done, and we'll get into the next piece, but like, kind of. Have they talked about a little bit and touched on his time as a field agent?
No.
Okay. Have they talked about his family and personal relationships?
Yes.
Have they touched? Sorry, Spider Brando, my bad.
Oh, I was just saying yes.
Have they talked about his time off the grid after Avengers: Age of Ultron, before and leading up to Infinity War?
No. No, they didn't. They mentioned it, but no.
Okay. Have they touched on his ability to kind of be prophetic and kind of predict the future in terms of knowing that there are larger threats out there besides what we know about what happens on Earth?
No.
I feel like that's a little debatable.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
debatable, but he knew about the harvest and that how big of a threat that could be without telling anyone.
Okay.
So, like in the wrong hands, that's a huge threat to the Earth through potentially the universe because they had to mention this certain Avengers DNA was in there also, and that Avenger could fly through space.
Has this guy been playing chess? Has he been staying ahead of these cosmic beings who have a plan to take over the world, to get things? Again, I think Harvest was another piece. Who knew about Harvest? Nick Fury and the people that he sent out there. Right? Any of these future threats, Avengers 1, guns, Hydra, all those weapons, I would say yes. But one last big thing. Have they touched on what he was doing and his, I guess, now future after Spider-Man Far From Home? So remember in that we saw that it was revealed Nick Fury was seen as actually Talos, who's posing as Fury. We see Fury post blip, Saber. Have they touched on any of that yet?
No.
Nope.
So with those no's, has the show at least made you kind of or like wonder what has gone on? Right? Do you care? Do you care about what's been going on with Fury for those things that we haven't gotten answers yet, which were questions before Secret Invasion?
Yeah. But it's part of the kind of the what's the word I'm trying to say? The aura of Nick Fury is always mystery, right? They give you
100%.
some, but they're not going to give you all. And I think that's okay. That's okay to not have everything. Just knowing the fact that, at least for me, right? And I'm going to say it more personally because I know some people might not like it, but for me, him saying, "Hey," or people telling him, "You left, and I know you're not the person you are anymore." That's enough, right? I don't need to know that he was sitting on Saber doing, nothing. I don't need to see that. And to be quite honest, that might not be interesting. And maybe the directors know that, or the director knows that, and the writers know it too. So that's why they went that way. Nick Fury's always been mysterious. So giving some answers while not giving others, that's enough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Brando, do you feel that kind of fits with the tone of the show? You have the show itself, and then you have Nick Fury. Like, do you feel like that's a good mesh of that
I
kind
think
of
so.
mystery and
Yeah.
intrigue?
I think so because the scrolls are very mysterious to us as viewers, but especially non-comic readers. We know just from Captain Marvel what they're capable of, and just what we've seen in Secret Invasion what we're capable of. But there's still like a whole. I feel like there's still a whole mystery and what's the word? Lore missing behind them for in the MCU. So that ties right in with the whole mystery and stuff that we don't know about Fury. And we've kind of slowly learned how Fury has used the scrolls on his missions of how, like Talos admitted how it was pretty much his guys that did most of the espionage for Fury, and no one, no one knew. Like only Fury knew. So that was a whole like I think that just ties in with the whole mystery aspect very very well.
I think that too. When I'm seeing 5 episodes in still, a lot of those comments about like, what are they doing with us? Where is this going? Where is it? Like we just laid it out there. There needs to be that sense. You can't with a character like this in a show like this. You don't want to show all of your cards. And Nick Fury is not going to show you all of his cards. We see some vulnerable moments with him at certain points throughout this show when he's kind of away and he's, I guess, not being Nick Fury kind of thing when everyone's like, you're just a shell of your former self. And he's like, nah, I'm Nick Fury. But then he's like, well, I left during the blip. I've left again before Infinity War, and I'm still kind of struggling with this. But you know what? I'm not going to call any of my friends. I'm not going to call the Avengers. I'm not going to call any of my allies. Like this is something that I need to do. But there are layers to that. And Brando, you brought it up, and for me, it's something that's interesting, but it's also something that didn't work for me. But the harvest piece of this. Were you guys surprised that it turned out that it was all the DNA from the Avengers who were a part of the battle during Endgame?
Yeah, I thought it was either going to be a select few, or to kind of tie it back to Captain Marvel, I thought it was just going to be Carol Danvers, because when I saw that, I paused it. The initial reaction I had was, okay, maybe during the scene where Thanos just obliterates her with the Power Stone, they'll give a small flashback and, show her, kind of beat up, and then them taking that DNA because they know how valuable it is. They don't want that to fall into the wrong hands because she is one of the strongest, at least in the MCU, right? So I thought that's what they were going to do. But then they were just like, no, it's everybody in this one tiny vial. Yeah, I was like, what? How?
Yeah. Did you like it, Brando?
Dude, I don't know. I felt like it was just kind of. I'm still processing it. Just the fact that they were able to go, and I would have never thought, like after Endgame, that it would have even been freaking possible to just go collect. Or just I never put it in my head to think about someone going to collect blood samples. Like they could have done that for the freaking the battle on Earth
Yeah.
in Avengers 1
The
In New York.
back
DODC?
then. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just it worked because it's cool to think that there's a sample of like a whole bunch of superheroes' powers. And if it gets in the wrong hands, that person could either be OP as hell or just like power overload. Too many powers at once.
But then, like, if you go by that logic, right, of what Fury said, if you take it word for word what he said nearly every Avenger bled during the Battle of Earth, right? So that includes the Winter Soldier. That includes what's his name? Iron Man, right? We knew he bled. That includes Sam Wilson. That includes Scott Lang. All these people who, in reality, they're just humans. There's aside from Bucky, who has the super soldier, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are just people, right? So what importance does that DNA have? None.
Yeah,
so,
but there's still like Thor, Cap.
Sure, but again,
Hulk is the big one.
Hulk,
but again, this is just taking it word for word what he said.
They could have gotten some Thanos juice in there. You never know.
But that to me is kind of the issue that I had with it is like there's a lot of this show has been left up to interpretation by the audience and the viewer, right? We're doing what we're doing. We're sitting here every Wednesday night talking about this stuff. But when I look in this little clear vial, and I'm like, you're telling me that one of the most emotional moments that I've ever seen in a movie theater where I'm almost in tears because I'm like, this is awesome. What do they do with? because you had the extremist formula, you have the frost giant, you have the Collapsidian, and then you have Groot. And like those are actual like physical things that they've gotten or collected that these scientists had. I'm still not clear on their story or where they kind of came from yet. The scientists who were helped build the Super Scroll machine, but
Disney Plus shows and scientists, man, they're really leading us in the wrong direction. It's not clarifying.
yeah.
They're just scrolls, though, from my understanding. They're just scroll scientists.
Well, the real ones are they're simmed and they're hooked up to that machine because Gaia put the chick.
True, yeah.
She was there. Why was she working with scrolls and how did she get that stuff? And then the ones that are running around that Fallsworth dealt with, they were the scroll replacements for them in the real world, not at New Scrollos. And they made it seem like they were working on some like new technology, like we're gonna do something. Like, didn't you guys already do that though? Like I thought this is done. What are you still working on?
No, I thought those scrolls were just out and about, though. The two scientists one.
They were, but it felt like they were disconnected from the scientists that are in New Scrollos. And it almost to me felt like they didn't know that this was complete and that Gravik has actually used it and Gaia has used it. It felt like they were still doing some R&D to be like, we can do this. I'm like, it's been done.
Could be they just
Nitpicky.
didn't know
nitpicky.
from being out in the field during
That's how I took it. That's
keeping their positions. But yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely a audience interpretation that you never know what truly happened.
No. So I just want to throw this out here while we're still on the harvest piece. I think this would have been a massive opportunity to just literally, without having anyone casted, without having any movie dates, without having any appearance, there are 4 sets of powers that are in this file. Thing, Human Torch, Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic. That's it. You don't have to name drop, but you say these are the powers that are in here, and this is what they really want. Because again, Gravik was a part of the team who went out to the field to collect the DNA samples, understood. I think it would have been much better suited if they would have said, the reason why he chose the 4 powers that he chose is because he knows the powers that were a part of Harvest. And this is as close as he could get because he doesn't know where it is. I thought that would have been a much cleaner way to do this. It would have been an easy way to hint at the Fantastic Four and would have given that hype moment that's been missing from this show to propel for future MCU implications.
That
would have been awesome.
That would have been great. And before you started on that, I was just going to ask what they could have done to make the Harvest a better kind of like MacGuffin type thing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. No pun intended. That's fantastic. But they easily could have expanded on that too and been like, hey, during the Battle of New York, not only that, but there was the energy that the fight gave off affected 4 individuals.
Yeah.
And, they were experimented on and we don't know where they're at currently, but their DNAs are what Gravik wants. And then like what you said, just kept going with that. That would have been like, oh my God, that's the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Without even saying,
Yeah.
See, both of those theories would have been Spider Chef Rando certified.
Love it.
Dude, I love it. But that right there though is what's missing for me.
And I was gonna say, here's the thing, right? Because we know Fury lies.
Yep.
So there's a very good chance. I don't think they're gonna do it, but there's a good chance that they lied about what the Harvest is.
There's a chance for sure.
Because even Fallsworth is like, wait, so it's just that vial, and he's like, yep. And it's like, that's a little too neat.
Didn't he mention something about? I heard I might have missed it on the episode because I happened to look down at my phone for a second, and I heard Fallsworth say something about asking Fury if he just like re-swapped the vial with something else. Did he swap the vial with like to a different location? I was confused on that. I don't know if you guys have remembered the exact quote or context, or if she was just like questioning why he doesn't do that. and just gives like Gravik a fake file.
I interpreted this episode as in Gravik was a part of the project, secret project, right? That's how we know scrolls have been used this entire time in the MCU since their inception of Captain Marvel in terms of relationship with Fury. Obviously, there's still a little bit more, just throwing that out there with between Fury and Gravik that I don't know if we're gonna get, but I hope we do. But it was almost as if like he's using his grave sites for pieces that he wants to keep like off the books. And he says, I have these everywhere kind of thing of just like little things like who knows where I'm going to be and when I'm going to need, kind of like that safe house type of thing. And his safe houses are kind of like meaningful places. But I think right now I'm taking it as that is the actual vial and that's what's in the vial, especially because of what happened with Gaia and her getting killed. And she was literally going to be dead if she didn't give herself the extremist super scroll power. And Talos actually dead.
Yeah, I take back what I said.
Maria Hill actually dead. Like,
RIP.
yeah, they've been fairly spot on for all the moments we're like, no, and they're like, yeah, and then we're all like, I hate the show. Like, no, they didn't tell you anything different. Like, you got shot, you dead.
Yeah, they're not trying to pull the wool under you.
Mm-mm.
Unless your name's
Like
Spider
this
Brando, and then he's not Emilia Clarke is dead.
Hey, she's alive. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Please insert the clip of Brandon having an existential crisis.
This guy just flips his monitor over.
No, but keeping in that train of thought, then, right? We're one episode away before the finale. What do they need to do to kind of make it work for you and make it feel neat, but also kind of expand on the MCU? What for you? What could be that big moment that they drop at the end of episode 6, a la Miss Marvel, right? Where Miss Marvel didn't really have too much of a reveals other than the multiverse thing, that the Bengals were from the multiverse or a different universe, and then that she's a mutant, right? That was the biggest thing, and that came at the very end of the last episode. What could they do here for you guys on that?
Before we do that, I want to just throw this one piece out because I think this throws a monkey wrench in terms of what I thought, and it's going back to Gravik. And Gravik always was the cause is bigger than anything else, right? The cause. Let's take over the Earth, make this our home at the expense of the humans. But now, especially for what he did to Right Hand Man, I forget his name. I keep saying Beto in my head, but I know it's a black guy. Pagon.
Yeah.
Now it almost feels like, and again, everyone at New Scroll Us is turning this around of like, you're not for the cause. This feels more like it's a personal vendetta against Fury. And we're all expendable because it's your personal vendetta versus what you've been pretending this is all about the whole time. And that's the cause to reclaim our world, to give us a home. That for me changes this whole kind of end piece. So I just kind of want to preface that. Like, this is the feel. And I almost feel Gravik is not going to make it out of this because he's going to self-sabotage.
Oh, yeah. I want to say something that didn't work on this episode. I don't like the whole idea of Gravik going to freaking blow up New Scrolls. Like, that just doesn't. I feel like that's such a 180 on the first episode's philosophy that we learned about him, and they just did that just for like. I understand the ramifications of like wanting to start World War III type event, and like the whole like we heard them so much throughout the series. We like like get the Russians or act like we're Russians and all that. But just from like his philosophy of getting the scrolls a home, I don't know. You're killing your own people. Like that just seems a little like it shows his great extent of wanting to use his of going about things in his own philosophy. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of killing your own people. That just didn't sit right with me.
Okay.
I was going to say that's kind of the point though, right? Where the whole time, and I'll say why this at least worked for me, the whole time he's talking about sacrifice since the first episode. He's talking about what you need to do for the scrolls, right?
Mm-hmm.
For us as a people. And
Mm-hmm.
he continues to talk about that, right? And even till the end where when he's talking to I forgot the Rhodey scroll's name.
Mm-hmm.
But Rhodey's like, hey, what do we do if that doesn't work then?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, what we've always been willing to do, sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
In his mind, he's still doing that. It's just more the opinion of you have to make sure you're ready to sacrifice. And I will sacrifice you for that. But for you, that's an honorable thing because you're a scroll. You don't want to be here. So it's gonna be an honorable thing to be used by me.
But I think this goes through. I think the whole overarching thing with that is this show comes down to it's a story of it's Fury's story, but where Gravik comes in is again he's been positioned as someone who's lost his family. Clearly, we know that he has a bigger relationship with Fury. Fury is most likely that father figure that he didn't have in his life, and you see the difference. Of Priscilla's like, you left me, but I understand, right? I love you enough. This is what it is. Gravik is almost on the opposite side of the coin where he's like, you showed me so much love, and where were you? You abandoned me. So the whole thing is my vendetta against you was for the cause. You said that you were going to find us a home. I don't think that's it. I think it's Gravik is like, you abandoned me. I don't have anyone who's that father figure in my life. You just left me all the way up through the Infinity Saga. I've always been there for you. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. Sure, maybe they'll throw some flashbacks, but at the end of the day, what he craves most, I feel like, was Fury. That's what he wants. He doesn't care about the scrolls. He's doing literally everything that he's contradicting everything he said about Fury. And he's doing the same exact thing now. So I think that's where it ends up in the end, as they're gonna have an emotional moment, a one-on-one. It's going to be dialogue heavy, and people are going to be like, this is ruining the climax of the entire show. This is a big action scene. Fury is going to be banged up. Gravik is going to be banged up. And he's like, where were you? You left me. That's what it's in my mind going to be about.
Y'all heard it here first, baby. Come back next week when we're right.
I'll add to that, and they clearly show that he will let his emotions get the better of him when he's in a scroll form.
For sure.
Because at the end of his action, well, when he's fighting the other scrolls and absolutely just decimates them in a very cool scene, I might add. He just yells and he's like, "Who wants some?" It just looks like a crazed person, right? Yeah. I think that's what they're gonna do towards the end, where kind of like you said, he's gonna be beat up and he's gonna let himself be a scroll and he's just gonna talk to Fury one-on-one, and that's when he's gonna let those emotions go. Yeah, and that might be to his demise.
It, I think, would be a more actionable sequence of kind of that interaction that Vara and Fury had, where Fury's not going to miss. That's the thing. I feel like Fury has been positioned in this show as someone who is, again, Fury didn't give us, he wasn't for the cause. He was for Fury. But Fury is for the cause. Fury is not for Fury. Fury is for the cause. Nobody's bigger than this whole thing. I don't care if you're an Avenger. I don't care if it's me. I don't care if it's you. Fury knows Gravik is a threat to the world and ultimately the universe. We talked about it last week. How big of a threat could Gravik be? Really, the universe is the limit. The more technology he gets his hands on, right, at that point. But now I think it's the roles are just reversing at the end. Gravik's not for the cause. He's for Gravik. Fury seemed like he was for Fury, but he's for the cause. Still.
You said something earlier. You asked the question of, is Nick Fury playing chess? And he has been, but he's been behind the whole time. And now he's catching up. Mm-hmm. And he's just one or two moves away from checkmating Gravik. And I think that's what we're going to get at the end.
It'll be that moment where Gravik's going to be like, checkmate. And he's like, oh, yeah. Bang. Mm-hmm. All it takes is one shot. All it's going to take is one shot. My guy's got his good eye on him. And I do wholeheartedly believe that Fury will put Gravik down. next week.
I don't see Gravik making it out of this show either, unfortunately, even though he's such a great character. I don't really see where else they would use him in the next couple MCU projects. So I think this will be just a good ender instead of leaving him on like a cliffhanger for what's to come next. Um, I hope it's Fury that gets rid of him. It's only fitting for both of their story arcs for Gravik to go down by the man you have a vendetta against, and then Fury to go down, or Fury to get rid of the man that's trying to screw up your whole entire mission idea of protecting the Earth and all that. So it'll be a good finale, hopefully. I hope it packs a punch as well as episode 4 did. Episode 5 didn't pack a punch, but for me at least, it was a great episode. Don't get me wrong. But I'm excited to see how it all turns out.
Real quick, we didn't touch on this. What do you guys think is going to happen with fake Rhodey, Skrull Rhodey, and the president? Because I think initially we thought the president was most likely going to die, and that's how Harrison Ford / Thunderbolt Ross steps in Brave New World. I don't see the president dying in this. I don't know who's going to take out Skrull Rhodey. What are your guys' thoughts?
They could.
I have a theory about you could go first.
I was gonna say, I do think that Skrull Rhodey is gonna end up showing his hand too much and expose himself in front of the president, and then he's gonna. I don't think Skrull Rhodey makes it out of this either. They've kind of set him up as another like secondary antagonist, almost like Starscream, like where it's that he weasels his way out of things sometimes, and at the end he has to get his comeuppance, right? So I think that's where they'll go. But to me, genuinely, I think that the president thing has been a red herring this whole time.
Yeah.
And they're just gonna let him ride out his term.
Yep.
And then it's just gonna be Harrison Ford comes up and he's gonna be like, hey, did you guys see that president? He was weak. He, let the Skrull invasion happen. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Let me show you the actions that I have against all these superheroes that continue to put themselves in the business of humans that don't really care about them. And here's the proof of me doing it before with the Hulk, with Civil War, how I've continued to try to put that into place.
Mm-hmm. Spider Brando theory?
I like that. I was gonna mine's a little more fun. Not more fun.
Yeah, yours is boring.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that.
Mine sucked.
I didn't mean that.
Did you take too much from our Justice League talk we had before? I got Snyder and Whedon over here.
Oh, I have a feeling that Rhodey is going to panic and just kill the president. And then Secret Service will come in and be like, they'll just catch them in 4K and then end Skrull Rhodey, and then boom, they're both done. That was my theory. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen because I feel like that's kind of like out of the ballpark to just randomly occur. But he was in the room with the president, and the president looked a little sussy when Rhodey was talking about how there's Skrulls amongst them. He was looking at him with a little. I know he was in probably some sort of coma or like drugged up state from his injuries, but they made like a really cool camera angle shot that I caught when he was talking about the Skrulls amongst them that really signaled in on like the president looking at him. So I don't know. That's just what made me think that Rhodey might be the one to kill him if he questions like, oh, are you a Skrull? And might pick up on some stuff that Skrull Rhodey has been doing that regular Rhodey hasn't done, like how he keeps on calling Fury Nick. Yeah. The president might easily pick up on some of those tendencies too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. I think President dying would be just perfect hype up for Thunderbolts or something instead of going home. Just don't.
Yeah.
Here's Harrison Ford running for a new term.
I think the commercial and the leaks and stuff like that of Nick Fury and all that kind of stuff is important. Now the public knows again, like Shield is not a thing. Like the people need to take power back in their own hands. Who's going to kind of be the face to lead that? I think it will be just kind of a term thing, and he'll lose type of thing. I do think through and come clutch in New Scrollos and kind of saving people and being the champion of finding them a new home and kind of taking on that role of doing that herself, and kind of maturing in that way. We talked about Gravik. I think maybe Gravik kills Scroll Roadie. The only thing I can see at the end of this show, and we're about to wrap up here, the only thing that I can see is a potential Monica Rambeau appearance or cameo at the very end of this between her and Nick Fury, or something along those lines, kind of like, WandaVision, we had that end piece. Miss Marvel, we kind of had that end piece. And the WandaVision thing when the Skrulls show up and they're just like, oh, come with us type of thing. Or maybe she's on Saber or something like that. Like I feel like we're gonna get kind of that lead into the Marvels.
I was gonna say that does this eventually lead into the Marvels? And I think so, because in the Marvels we see, in the Marvels we see the fact that Nick Fury is all in his battle gear, battle trench, coat and his eye patch.
Love a good battle trench.
Yeah, I think he's gonna end up being like, "Hey, Fury's back. Like I am back.
Yeah.
So let's go find Captain Marvel because we need." While for Monica Rambeau, that'll be a more personal thing. He's now going to be like, all right, this is the business we need to get down to. We need to finally do what we're setting out for these Skrulls.
Yep. I think it's
and then boom, that's what they reveal. Sword is to fly around the universe to try to find her.
Maybe. Saber.
Or Saber. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's Saber ship.
Yeah. Speaking of really quick, and I want to know your guys' opinion on this, just kind of to weigh in. There's been a big theory online that Gaia, her human sim, is Abigail Brand, who's kind of like
I have no idea what that
related. Is. Do you guys think they're gonna put that in there?
I don't. And I think that kind of got shot down after episode 3 or 4. 3.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think she's going to be her own. I don't think she should be anyone else besides who we've seen. I don't think she should have any other names, any other associations. Emilia Clarke, I don't know how long you signed on for, but no.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to throw that out there because I still see some people talk about that, and I want to let them down easy so that they know that that's not going to happen. Temper your expectations. Be happy that Emilia Clarke is going to be here. And for Brandon's sake, I hope that's a long time.
I appreciate that.
Let her go off into space. Who knows? Let him work out the contract. Bring her back in a couple years. I don't know. She'll come through clutch. Maybe she's she ends up being the Super Skrull somehow and adds 3 or more powers to her, whatever she did. Again, it's Disney Plus. I think the theories can get wild. The show is fairly self-contained, but has done a really good job of pulling in other pieces to this, introduce some fun characters. But I think that they can wrap up and keep the story within itself without leaving us with a giant celestial in the middle of the ocean being like, what are they going to do with that?
When are we going to talk about this?
Yeah. No. It's good. It is a solid show. And I will say that even if they crap the bed with episode 6, I don't think they're going to. I think we're going to get some really, really good moments and continue the one-on-one with the dialogue, the action. I think it'll be fun. I'm excited for it.
Thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of the Point 3 podcast. To join us more in-depth conversations, follow us on social media at Point 3 Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and peep the link in our link tree to join our Discord and chat with us fully in depth on a bunch of different channels and topics that anyone could come in, join, and talk about anything you like, pop culture wise, anything sports. And on that note, keep watching, keep reading, and keep nerding out.